Hey guys, welcome to the Week 13 report. This, of course, being the third report in video format, which I think is going very well. I just wanted to thank everybody in the league's participation. Definitely makes the league much more enjoyable and much more competitive. We had some interesting storylines and competitions this past week that we'll get into in a bit. I just wanted to say that as I just said right there, I'm trying to work on my uhs and ums that I'm saying. When I'm editing, they're annoying as fuck, but I'm working on it. But let's get into the news. On to our first news story. Tragic news coming out of Golden State. Assistant coach Dejan Milivojevic passed away this week due to a heart attack, resulting in some postponing of games. Rightfully so. I can't imagine trying to play a game after such a tragic loss. My condolences out to the family, friends, and coaches, and everybody that interacted with Dejan. Truly, truly awful, and you hate to see it for the league. But onto our league, the ramifications coming from it start with Mateo. His team had Steph Curry and Andrew Wiggins, not resulting in a change of from a loss to a win, but still enough points in the points for category to give him a good boost. The other team affected by this in a huge way was Zom's team, having Luka Doncic, which was the final game postponed due to this tragic incident. He had it pushed back to the previous game, which was against the Lakers, resulting in him having one of the top scoring players this week. Unfortunately for the Codfather, this resulted in the game swaying in the opposite direction, giving Zom the win, which we'll get into later. Now, on to the next piece of news. We had some injuries happen, starting with Zach LaVine. He is now again out week to week with another ankle injury. You just hate to see it. Definitely affects his trade value immensely. And as a fantasy owner, this is not looking good for you. The next player who is in better news coming back from injury, he's questionable this next game on, I think today, Monday. But we'll play at some point this week Tyrese Halliburton, who has been tremendous this season. This should be a good boost in morale and fantasy points for their owner. And finally, Trae Young entered concussion protocol over the weekend. You hate to see it. I hate that goblin, but you don't see many concussions in the NBA, so there's no timetable on him coming back yet. Sleeper projects him to come back next week at some point, but we'll have to wait and see because sometimes concussions can be pretty bad. And that'll wrap it up for the news. Let's go on to the top free agents for the week and some that you might want to pick up. Now the top 3 free agents. Starting with on the left, Alec Burks. He's playing garbage minutes with the Pistons, but it's still minutes, which fantasy owners might like. He can play, I think, a forward and some guards, so that would be a good pickup for some fantasy owners that need points. The next top free agent is Alex Caruso, who's putting up big numbers, not the me guy numbers, but good numbers as a bench piece for Chicago. He plays point guard, shooting guard, might be a good guard for some of these teams in our league to pick up. And then finally, Sixers miss him, George Niang. He's been stepping up recently for the Cavs, especially with Garland being out. I don't expect him to keep his fantasy points up as he is, but might be a good pickup for the short term. Now, on to our scores for the week. All right, now the scores, starting with me versus Riley. The Void dealt with some injuries, but couldn't get it done. The battle of the win streaks ended here for the Void, ending their 5-game winning streak to put them down to 6-7. Riley's team performed, kept the winning streak alive for them, going 13-0 now with 4 top picks. If you're a fan of Riley, you'd love to see that, and they got business done here. They did. With only 2 worst picks for both teams, there wasn't a bad manager out there, but you just would like to see a healthy matchup on both sides to really see what a proper matchup would yield. But nonetheless, Riley's 13-0, keeping his conquest for undefeated status going, and props to him. Want to see if somebody else could break it. The next matchup we'll be looking at is Aiden versus Will. Aiden, again, handled business handedly. Over 100-point win. You don't see that every day. Yeah, with 4 top picks, it didn't take a great manager to get even to 250. You just love to see it as a fan of Aiden. And if you're putting up 250 with only 4 top picks, you're in a good spot. Aiden is now 6-7, fighting for a playoff spot. Now, Will's team packed nicely. Had 2 top picks with the worst pick. Not bad managing wise. Might have been useful to sub in some players if there were some better scoring ones off the bench. It doesn't seem like Podemski is filling up that Chris Paul role as we hope, but hopefully we'll get him next week. He is not completely out of playoff contention, only being 2 games out. We'll see later in the standings. The next matchup, which was a very interesting one that came down to the wire almost, was Ryan versus Gal. Ryan scored 240 with 5 top picks. Both of these teams had 5 top picks, which was the best, one of the best managerial performances this week. And an enticing game that had back and forth. Luke only lost by 18 points, which is tough to swallow, but gives you hope for the playoffs. You know you can beat this team, and vice versa. You can beat each other. With this score, I would love to see this matchup in the future, and there is some bad blood, so I'd be interested to see how this matchup and its fans react in the future. Now, the next game is pretty interesting. Zom versus Sylv, coming down to the wire. The Codfather had 6 top picks, which was the best managerial performance in the league. With, I'm pretty sure, and reports are coming in, this is a 97% manager efficiency, which might be one of the top ever. But it didn't get it done. Team Zom, he was just too good with 1 top pick, giving him almost 280 points to give him a good dub to keep almost toe for toe with Riley going at 10-3. As for the Codfather, you hate to see it. It's an unlucky week, but you can put up numbers. You're just missing a couple of pieces. Being at 3-10, you're not completely out of playoff chances, but you might want to start considering draft picks. And we'll get into this in the final notes. There might be an interview with the Codfather later in the next report. On to the next matchup. Brian versus Webb. Team Belucio could not handle Webb Warrior this week, who put up almost 250 with 4 top picks. Fans for Webb Warrior, this is a good turnaround. You hope this is the start of a streak that can launch the team into playoffs. As for Team Belucio fans, this is a collapse. Belucio started off so well this season. Started off amazing at 6-1, I do believe, and is now on a crazy losing streak. Now falling outside of playoff contention. They have some injured players and some players that are not even playing. So you'd hate to see it as a fan if they were replaced. This would maybe be given a more run for their money. The one thing for Team Belucio that might be good for them, Darius Garland is coming back soon, and hopefully Evan Mobley's coming back soon. Both these players have been hurt for a while now, and will give the team a much needed boost. Now to the bad blood of this week. Teo versus Sherm. As predicted earlier in the week, there was some bloodshed, some stabbings, some robberies, and the stadium was not a pretty place. You would hope they would pay you to go there, yet people somehow still forked over thousands of dollars to see this matchup, and a lot of people died seeing it. It was a close matchup though. Only a less than 20-point win for Sherm, who's now 9-4. Both teams had 2 top picks, 2 worst picks. Could have gone either way. Who would have known if Wiggins and Steph played later the week, they could have erupted for a lot more points to take the dub. But as a fan of the sport, as a fan of the league, you just love to see this matchup. Now the next matchup has Noah versus Yarm. Noah put up an abysmal 132.25 points, which is bottom of the league for sure in this season. You just hate to see it. With 2 top picks and a worse pick, you start to question, will Noah break the losing streak this year? It's been tough to see. He was in playoff contention early in the season, and now the wheels are falling off the wagon. You hope his injured players are going to come back and start yielding some fantasy points to get those dubs. As for Yarm, he didn't even have to pick this week to beat Noah. Putting up 210 is pretty impressive for not having to pick anything. He's now 9-4, tied with Sherm, as we saw earlier in standings, and has a really good shot at making the playoffs. It's almost solidified for him. Now, on to the next matchup, which there are none. I'm dumb, but I'll leave it in the video because I'm dumb. We'll see you in the next segment, which will show off the standings. Now, with the week over, the standings have updated. Riley's very comfortable up top, pretty much securing his playoff position. With Aiden winning and Brian losing, it's everything but solidified that he'll be in the playoffs. Brian just does not have the points for. In the 2 seed, we have Team Zom by himself at 10-3 on a 3-game winning streak. You just love to see that. He's probably almost the solidified 2 seed, considering he's putting up enough points to beat Riley in some of these games. Now, on the 3 and 4 seed, we have a tie at 9-4 with Yarm and Sherm. These are some teams that are pretty formidable. Will definitely give anybody a run for their money and beat those teams that are not in playoff contentions handedly. Now at 5 and 6, the 2 teams that played each other, which was our TNT show of the week, pretty much. Ryan and Gal played, and you might hope for Ryan's team that it's what's to come if they do play again. If you're a fan of Ryan's team, but these 2 teams are neck and neck. Any given week they can beat each other. Should be interesting if we see them in the playoffs. For Gal's team, he did drop 2 positions, which is, a real bummer. You just hate to see that, especially when you're jockeying for these positions. Now in the final 2 playoff spots, there's a tie between the Void and Aiden. These teams are both 6 and 7. The win streak ended for the Void. Playing the top team in the league is a tall task, apparently, and it's pretty obvious that if come playoff time, Riley has a really good chance of beating the Void. As for Aiden, at 6 and 7, 8th seed, he's tied with Brian, but wins in points for the points for category to get the 8th seed. It's a pretty good sign. A lot of people see Aiden making a run for it, even maybe jockeying for the 6th, 5th, and 4th positions. Now the bottom 6 teams that aren't in the playoffs as of now. Team Belucio is tied with 7th and 8th at 6 and 7. He doesn't have the points for by quite a bit, by a couple hundred, which is not promising, but there's still time for Team Belucio to come back and claim one of those spots. As for the 10th seed, Will, packed nicely, is 4-9. Still has a chance, but at 4-9, and a lot of the rest of these teams are going to have to start considering whether they start going for draft position. But there's still time, so there's time to turn around, time for your players to get healthy. We'll see what happens in the coming weeks. Now for 11 to 14, these teams are all tied at 3 and 10, which is pretty interesting. Anybody can get the one draft pick, not the 1 seed, of course, but the number 1 draft pick, and there's still a chance for them to make a playoff run. Yes, they're down 3 games, but who knows? I've seen crazier things. There's a couple losing streaks we see here. The Codfather has a 3-game losing streak, especially after this week. It's heartbreaking. Some hope it continues, some hope it turns around. Have to wait and see. A team that hope it continues is Team Lobster. They're on a 7-game losing streak, and they need the turnaround, or they're heading for the number 1 draft pick. Team Teo and our Team and Team Web Warrior Both showed promise this week, especially Web Warrior putting up almost 250. You would think that would, show signs of, oh, I could get in the playoffs. And we'll go on to the next segment. All right, now on to our next segment. The best two players of the week being Luka Doncic and Nikola Jokic, both putting up monster numbers for Zom and Luke, helping them try and get their wins, especially for Zom, who turned it around and got lucky that Luka put up 53 the game before the postponement. Starting with Luka, he scored a triple-double with 33 points, 10 assists, 13 rebounds, 2 blocks, and 2 steals. In a loss, though, that resulted him in minus 15. It's kind of insane to put up a triple-double and somehow still have minus points. I don't get that. But it did give him 53.5 points for Zom for that dub. Now, the highest scoring player this week is Nikola Jokic, who had a monster double-double with 42 points, 12 assists, 8 rebounds, 3 blocks, and a steal with a plus-minus of 20. With 57.75 points, it was a great week for Jokic and a great pick by Luke. Now, on to our next segment that will show our video of the week. On to our video of the week, we see here Anthony Edwards absolutely giving a highlight. Look at this. Yeah, man, that's insane. Look at them, all of them starstruck by this guy who just pulled almost like a LeBron move, putting it off the backboard. I guess it's not quite a LeBron move. There's been a lot of other players to do it, but just look at this. Oh, just amazing. Just amazing. Now, the next week's matchups to look out for. We have an absolute heater in the top of the standings. Zom versus Sherm. Right now, Zom is projected at 56% chance to win against Sherm. Obviously, those are subject to change, but should be a heater of a contest. I would definitely keep my eyes and buy tickets for that game. The other matchup that I'm interested in is Ryan, Uncle Grimacy's Cream versus Team Web Warrior. Definitely not standings-wise, but Web Warrior put up 250 points last week. And Ryan only put up 240. Webb might have a resurgence here, and beating a top team in the league like Ryan might prove something for the fans of Webb that they can still make the playoffs. And finally, a personal favorite for me, The Void play Gal. Should be an interesting matchup, standings-wise, playoff-wise, to see how this plays out. And hopefully it'll be an injury-free matchup. Now, on to the final notes. Thank you guys for listening to the report. All right, the final notes for the week. Just want to say, great week. Excited for the next week. Playoffs are starting to shape out. Should be interesting. Should be interesting to see who starts to fade in and fade out of playoff chances. But final notes here. I just wanted to thank everybody for their participation. Keep on keeping on. Love to see it. Your participation makes this possible, so thank you all. I'm pretty sure I'm going to say this every video, so get used to it, but also don't get used to it because I might put in some flair. The big special announcement, next week's report. Mark it on your calendar. There's going to be an interview with the Codfather, who had a devastating loss this last week and is looking to redeem himself. If you have any questions, put them in the comments, or if you're a commissioner, just text me directly. They will be answered, and the Codfather has some answering to do. And as a last reminder, please fill out the Google form. Commissioners, I want to get that video out introducing all the teams, or even if it's half the league, I'll even do half the league. Thank you for your participation, and to the next week. See y'all soon.